Hello, my name is Kai, and I am a bit of a rambler. I like to travel, learn, and tell stories. And today we're going to ramble on. I am back into the pickling game, I'm happy to announce. I pickled some cabbage, which smells weirder, because cabbage is real farty sometimes. But it tastes great after it's pickled. Pickled cabbage is delicious, but it's not as good as red onions. And I got some advice to add some raw garlic cloves in there, which, woof, it's too spicy, raw garlic. I used to eat raw garlic cloves because I thought it would be like medicine, but I'm not sure about the science on that. It just felt like it should be good because they were such a powerful vegetable. So when I put this sliced garlic cloves, not a ton, just like a few little pieces, and then, maybe the problem was that I didn't slice them thin enough because I really just cut a few cloves in half and put them in there to see what would happen. But they didn't pickle all the way through. They just made the onions crazy spicy also with all the allicin. But I love pickling, except I only got to do it once, and then the hot plate I'm using in my apartment here, the wire, it's just two wires really, that are connecting the electricity to the heat element, and one of them straight up just melted in half and disconnected from the lead. It melted off the lead into the heat element, and yeah, so that was disappointing. So I can't really heat up the vinegar, water, salt solution anymore to pickle stuff, but I'm thinking about it because I can definitely repair it. I'm just thinking if it's worth it to repair, because I still have the air fryer, and that thing is treating me real well. There's a great supermarket up the street here, and I have been buying chicken wings, getting them cut up, and then I fry them up with, I've tried two marinades. I've tried the chimichurri marinade and the beer barbecue marinade. They're actually like salsas, but I'm rubbing them on the chicken wings first and then air frying them, and then they turn into this slick glaze. And it's pretty good, but they're not strongly flavored enough for me still, so I'm still using the allspice plus chili pepper spice mixture I have, which if you ever have like a pouch of spices and you wish you had an easy way to shake the spices on there, but you don't have a salt shaker. What works even better, in my opinion, is a empty plastic drink bottle of any kind. Clean it out, dry it out, pour the spices in, put the cap on. I hold a knife over the fire, and then I poke 3 holes in the top plastic cap, and then you can shake on as much as you want, or what I do is just squeeze the plastic bottle, and it puffs out just a little bit of the spice mixture, and when it breathes back in, you're ready for another puff, and it's perfect. That's what they do for all spices in Chinese barbecue. And pretty much whenever I have spices that I want to put on food, that's how I deploy the spices. A little DIY plastic bottle. I usually use a Coke bottle. I don't know why, but it always... maybe... No, I'm not even using Coke bottle now. No. It was just a cocktail drink that I washed and then dried, put the spice inside, poke those 3 holes with the tip of a heated knife on the top of the cap. Works perfectly. Squeeze, 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 and I can get it around. It's perfect for an air fryer. I throw all my french fries or chicken wings or whatever I'm cooking in there, the garlic cloves, spray or puff out a few puffs of spice on top of it. Heat it up. Perfect. It's better than shaking, honestly. It's more, I don't know, it feels more controlled, actually, even though I'm puffing out stuff instead of shaking it on. Maybe it just doesn't take as long, actually. Maybe that's what I like, because I bet the salt shaker is more controlled, but I don't want to shake from a height, or I don't want to get in there either, because there's not a lot of room to shake around. I can go at the perfect height and just puff out the spices. So that's my word to the wise, and I'll stop talking about spices and plastic bottles now. Well, I don't know what's going on. It is the rainy season here, and it did rain for several days, maybe a few days, like 3 or 4 days. and it rained super hard for 30 minutes, and then I walked for 1 hour, and then it rained crazy for 2 hours. But I got back to my apartment a minute before it started really coming down. I just felt a few splashes, but they were big. And I was like, oh, is it going to rain again? And then I get in, close my door, turn on my laptop, and then bam, it just starts pounding against the streets. But now it's been 4 days, and I don't think it's rained at all, which it's the rainiest season of the month right now in Medellin, so I would have expected it to be raining more, but who knows? And it's nice when it does rain, but I did get caught in the rain the last time it rained, it was coming down like crazy, and I stopped into this sushi restaurant that's rated 5 or 4.9, really high rating, a lot of reviews, I mean enough, I think it was like 76 reviews, something like that. And I was like, yeah, okay, that's pretty good. And I didn't expect a lot from, 5,000 feet elevation sushi. The ingredients aren't going to be as fresh. But I figured it'd be fine. And it was terrible. And maybe that's because, I was so spoiled after the Panamanian sushi Miyagi. But this was some terrible sushi if I've ever had it. Now, I'm not going to throw the restaurant under the bus or anything, because I showed up early, the whole family showed up after I did, and then he brought out their food before I got mine, but they all ordered something else. So I think maybe he just hadn't made the rice yet, even though the restaurant was open for an hour and a half before I went. I went by there at 6 or something, and I saw that it just didn't look quite open, and no one was really in the front. So I walked around for another hour or something, and then I went back, and it looked a little more open, but it was still kind of empty, and just as I was turning around to leave, which I just should have done, I just felt it was still too early, the guy came out and asked me if I wanted anything, and I said sushi, and he said yeah, and then I waited like 45 minutes, until I got the sushi, and it was one roll, and no part of it was good. The fish was okay. The fish was probably the best part, but it was kind of thin, and obviously mountain fish, it's not super fresh. The avocado was pretty bland and watery, so it was probably a little old. But the rice was undercooked, like to a shocking degree. It was straight up crunchy. Like the middle of the grains of all the rice was crunchy. And I checked the Google Maps rating again after I left. Like, even if it was not made at all, 45 minutes is enough time to put rice in a rice cooker and let it cook fully before you make the roll. Like, don't make it with undercooked rice, and you would feel it when you're making it. You can feel undercooked rice. It feels completely different. It's not fluffy and soft and all that. It was bizarre. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I could believe it. I was just extremely disappointed, and I still wanted sushi, and I was like, oh, well, I guess I'll go throw myself off a cliff. But since it's not actually a big deal at all, since it was a piece of sushi, I just went walking around the neighborhood instead. And I was walking back and found a really good ice cream shop. I got chocolate-covered strawberries, which are really just strawberries in a bowl, and then they pour in some melted chocolate. And that was fun, but I also got 2 scoops of ice cream, mandarin and something else, maracuya, I think, and they were good. The maracuya was better. I'm going to go back to that place just because they made really good, tasted like real ice cream made with real cream. Which, if you've only had store-bought ice cream, real ice cream is much more like gelato. It's a lot smoother and there's more air in it, so it's just puffier and all that. It's not compacted like Blue Bunny or whatever those tube cans are you get in the supermarket. But I was really happy to get that after my sushi letdown. I think I forgot I was in the mountain. If I was like, oh, I'm up in the mountains, I probably would have gotten something else instead. I was just talking about this recently also, how if a place serves sushi, it's really difficult to have like ramen or udon or other types of food or hamburgers, whatever it is, and make all of those different kinds of food well. So this place, maybe their other Japanese food is good and nobody ever gets the sushi there, but there's like a lot of reviews for this place and it's 5 stars. So I didn't even leave a bad review. I don't want to do that because there's always some day something goes wrong, and maybe I just took that upon myself by not walking out like I felt I should have. Walking out the second time. I was just real curious about the sushi. My bad. Oh, but it was raining like crazy after I went to that ice cream shop with the strawberries, and I just stood under a small awning while I ate the strawberries and ice cream. But it sure did not feel like the rain was going to let up anytime soon. And I was a good, 30-minute walk from the house still. So I just started jogging, and I just jogged for 15 minutes through pouring rain. And everybody else was just hanging out underneath the awning. But I wanted to get back for something not too important, I bet. I bet it wasn't critical. But I did want to get back, or maybe I just wanted to run. I can't really remember. But I ran all the way back to my apartment, and it was pretty fun running in the rain, and I didn't slip, and I was listening to a podcast, and I was just going. But it was coming down. The street food vendors were all battening the hatches. Everybody was. It was a heck of a rainstorm. I got a Cinnabon for the first time, and who knows, actually? Last Christmas, half a year ago, or no, more now, when I was visiting family, we went to a mall, and there was a Cinnabon, and I did get an original Cinnabon for the first time in, then I really don't know, a decade more, a long time. But there's like a mini Cinnabon kiosk in the mall here, not even like behind the counter, like an actual kiosk, and they had mini pecan caramel nut mini Cinnabons, like 4 in a little slidey tray. And maybe this is the most common thing in the world, it probably is, but I haven't been there in so long that I was delighted by the look of them and thought caramel and pecan sounded great. And they tasted fine. They were pretty good. They were sweet, and there was caramel and pecan, so yeah, that's what I asked for. It was good, but now I can't eat any more sugar for the rest of the year because that amount of sugar is insane. But I'm also lying. I've been buying candy because there's also a little candy kiosk with sour belts. You know, that sugar sour sprinkling of sugar sour crystals on a gummy belt. And I got hooked on those a few years ago. I lived near this mall that had a little candy shop. And I was like, I wonder if they have them here. And they do. So I got a little bag of those. But they're like the most expensive thing I bought in the city. I bought 6 avocados, 6 Hass avocados for 60 cents about. So that's nuts cheap. But these little sour belts, I got 10 of them, and that was $3. So 5 times as much for less than a third the weight of one avocado, probably. And I like them. It was worth that initial indulgence, but I probably won't be getting too much more candy at those prices. Oh, they did also have this chocolate covered with caramel inside sphere, and the chocolate was so fresh. So maybe if I finish some milestone or whatever, something big, then I can go back there and get a couple sour belts and a chocolate sphere. Oh, I had my first genuine complaint about my new phone, which, by the way, is still a month in, running circles around the best day my Pixel 6 ever had. I just can't believe how much better this $150 Motorola phone is than the $650, $700 whatever Pixel 6 I got when it came out. But my first genuine complaint was that the G54 alarm control seems to go to 0. So out of nowhere, I would set an alarm, and it would go off. But when I opened it up, it said the alarm was at 0. And it turns out there are 2 separate volume controls I found out after poking around, and one of them works totally normally, and it's in settings. But the quick action alarm button, you can set that higher or lower, and it doesn't really matter. The one in settings determines the alarm, and that one doesn't go to 0. That one works totally normally. But for some reason, this quick action alarm button isn't connected to the actual alarm settings. So it's just faking me out that it doesn't work. So I thought that the alarm wasn't working, but it turns out that I just had to turn on the actual alarm settings and ignore the quick action alarm settings. And that took me 10 minutes, 15 minutes? Compared to the amount of time just figuring out that now playing is completely useless on a Pixel phone. I just figured I was doing something wrong when I first got the Pixel 6, but it turns out now playing just doesn't work. That's the thing where it'll tell you which song is playing, and you can have it on, you can actively scan with it. It doesn't work. It'll work for, 10% of the songs, but obviously that's pretty useless. And that's just one of the dozens of features that are useless or harmful on a frickin' Pixel. So working out which alarm setting is genuine on the G54 for 15 minutes, I'm fine with that. Also, it turns out because when the alarm went off, the sound was coming out of the phone, but that's in my pocket, and it wasn't playing on my Bluetooth headphones. My Bluetooth headphones, just didn't get any alarm sound. They just kept playing whatever I was listening to. After I just did the genuine alarm settings in the actual settings app, then it comes through on the Bluetooth, though it still plays concurrently with whatever I'm listening to, rather than pausing what I'm listening to and playing the alarm sound, which is kind of weird, but it's not even worth it for me to fix it, because I still am aware that the alarm's going off. So yeah, I frickin' love the G54 still. I heard that the White House is trying to shut down Wikipedia, and if you're not aware of it, there's a cool app called KiwiX, and you can download all of Wikipedia for 100 gigabytes, or you can download Wikipedia no pictures for 43 gigabytes, or short Wikipedia, which is just one paragraph for each entry, for 12 gigabytes. So if you're worried about the White House outlawing Wikipedia, just so you know, there's an alternative. You can download the app, KiwiX, download Wikipedia, and have it on your phone. As long as you don't have a Pixel 6, because they're space-starved, they have no memory or storage on them. Wow, I wonder how long I'm going to be retroactively mad at the phone that I chose to keep for more than 2 years. Like, that was my fault. I could have got rid of it at any time. It wasn't a money thing. It was a bad experiment. I would have wasted money if I got rid of it, but how much happier would I have been and how much time would I have saved if I just got rid of that Pixel 6 earlier and looked around for something new? I just couldn't believe how bad the Pixel was. I just, every time something bad happened, for the whole first year, I was like, I guess I just don't understand it. I guess this is just like, when I was a kid and I had to figure out how Windows works for real and where all the settings and options are. That's not the problem with Pixels. They're just garbage. Their settings are garbage, and now Android wants to block users from installing Android apps unless they're safety approved, which just means unless they're feeding your data back to Google. So you're not even going to be able to install the software you want on your phones next year, apparently, according to Google. And if that happens, I'm finally going to take the leap back to installing a different ROM and just stop using Android, because if I can't even install software on Android anymore, it's basically just an iOS system. It's just going to be Apple, where I won't be able to use anything I want to either. But that's okay. Linux desktops are taking over now. Their user share is rising month by month now. There are already good alternatives to Android OS. The only problem is with me abroad, banking apps won't work as easily because they'll insist that they have to be Google verified, which is crazy. But I will burn that bridge when I come to it. So aside from the weird alarm thing, though, this G54, fantastic. I am still loving it. Oh, also the camera app. Have I mentioned that? I didn't like how the camera looked when I got the phone. And on the G54, you can just uninstall the native camera app and install any of the other ones. And someone had a great suggestion for the G54 camera on GitHub, and now it works like a normal camera. It looks great now, like I'm taking really good pictures. Before, whatever the native camera app is, the colors are messed up and it's blurry. It's just not a good app. And I was worried that it was the hardware Turns out it was just the software, so I installed the native camera app, installed a different one, works great. When it was drizzling here last week, I was walking around in the rain under the streetlights with all this greenery. Medellin is so green. Super green. I think I said that last time, but there's been a lot of Chris Tucker memes online lately dressed as Ruby Rod. So I just keep thinking of him. He is so funny in that role. Man. And, but anyway, I'm walking around in Medellin and it's such a crazy green. There's so many trees and grass and exercise parks that are all green. Green hills surround the city entirely. There's rivers everywhere. It's just a shockingly green city, considering it's as high as Denver. I really expected it to look like Denver in the US, just not green, very, very pale, minty gray sort of thing most of the year. But there's so much water, and I am here during the rainy season, which isn't too short, but I'm right in the middle of it. So that must be playing a part because, yeah, lush grass everywhere and beautiful trees everywhere. And it reminded me of when I was walking around my neighborhood growing up. There was a bunch of trees and street lamps, and I would walk around at 2 or 3 a.m. sometimes when I couldn't get to bed in high school, I think. And same here, it was 3 a.m. or something, so everything's pin drop silent. And there's a little bit of rain falling, there's a bunch of trees, and everything's beautiful, and the night feeling, and it's nice. And I was reading The Outsiders or Rumblefish. I was reading one of those by S.E. Hinton, and I stopped under a lamp streetlight on the road to read, and I just stood under that street lamp, for, 10 minutes or something, because I was at a really good part of the book. And I was just so into it that I wasn't completely unaware of what was happening around me. And then I heard someone calling to me, and I looked up and I realized that I had just happened to stop at the only house that was still awake at this time of night. And there was a group of large adults sitting around a table, and they said, "Come over here." And even then I was like, well, I'm curious. This isn't the safest thing, but what will happen if I do go over there? And so I did. And they asked me if I was taking a picture of them. And I was confused for a second, but I realized the book I was holding by S.E. Hinton, it wasn't a huge book. It was like a young adult reader kind of thing. So it was shaped kind of small. And this was 20 years ago. So I could see how it could have been the size of a fancy camera or whatever. Maybe a Polaroid back then. There were no smartphone cameras. I mean, there were, but they were. And I was like, no, a book. And they were like, let me look at the book. Like they thought I was lying to them and secretly taking pictures of them sitting around their card table playing poker. Probably smoking weed, but I wouldn't even have recognized the smell back then. And plenty of my friends smoked weed, but weed is such a rich scent, and I don't personally smoke. I never got into it. I did it a bunch, but I never really liked it. That it never clocks in I don't get it right away. It's now I'm 38, and now I recognize the smell pretty easily, but back then, in my nascent drug years, I couldn't catch a whiff right off, but I bet that's what was going on. That's why they looked so nervous, and that's why they kept asking if I had a covert camera I was taking pictures of them with. And they were like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Reading a book." He said, "Give me the book." And I took the book out of my pocket, and he opened it and flipped through the pages to determine if it was a book instead of a camera, which you'd think you could tell after grabbing it. But he looked at several individual pages, and he was like, "Yeah, book." And they gave it back to me. And the adults were like, "Okay." And they all shrugged at each other, and they were like, "It's weird you're standing in front of our house." I was like, "Yeah, sorry, I didn't know. Everybody's asleep except for me and I guess you guys." So I didn't even think that anybody would be sitting in their garage drinking beer and playing poker at 2 a.m. And everybody just shrugged again. They were like, "All right, the kid's just fucking weird." And I kept on walking and reading my book, and they were right. I'm a freaking weirdo. But that's what my neighborhood now feels like. After 11 p.m., it's pretty dead, and then after 1, it's basically silent until 5 a.m. So it's just a completely silent, super green neighborhood. So it feels oxygen charged. It feels alive, and I get to walk around in it when the whole world is asleep. And that's really fun for me. I like living in a void. As long as my air fryer and chicken wings are back in my apartment waiting for me. Man, I got some really good tea. They do add stevia to it, but, there's no sugars. And it's a bunch of fruit tea. It's tasty. Oh, and mentioning how I used to eat raw garlic, like for health, garlic is so cheap here. When I left the States, it was one garlic bulb for $1, $1.50, something like that. It was quite expensive. Yeah, it was like $5 for 3 bulbs in Colorado the last time I was in the States last year. 2 years ago? Jeez. Time ago. An amount of time ago. And here, just like in Panama and Colombia, the garlic is 3 for 1,000, which is 25 cents, roughly. It's a little under 25. It's 22 cents or whatever. But yeah, so I can buy as much garlic as I want without feeling like I'm wasting money. I can just buy a whole bunch, especially because right now I just found out that if I just cut off the bottom of the entire bulb of garlic and then throw the cloves into the air fryer, maybe 4 minutes, it peels the cloves for me. Half of them just pop out of their shells after a few minutes, and the other ones, I can pick them up by the pointed part that I haven't peeled, and they'll slip right out. It's the easiest way now. It's even easier than when I steamed them in Thailand. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the easiest way to make my garlic dip. Nope, this is easier. Throw them in the air fryer, 4 minutes, take them out, the peels are gone, or I just pick them up, and any amount of pressure, even shaking the peeled garlic, and the garlic itself will just pop right out of the peel. So this is my new life hack for sure. And because of that, I've been cooking them really easily, just cutting up 2 bulbs at a time, throwing them in the air fryer, and then having a little bowl of fried garlic. You know what I gotta do? I gotta marinate those though, because I've been just doing it dry, and the spices that I've been spraying on them before I fry them don't stick. So I gotta marinate those instead of the chicken wings. I think that'll be better. Powder spices for the chicken wings, but a glaze for the garlic, that sounds good. I'm gonna make some more garlic today, actually, after I finish this, because that's such a great idea. I'll use the beer barbecue glaze I have. Yes, it's all coming together. I've been really thinking, for a long time now, for months, I've been thinking of going back to Japan, Asia in general, and I think I have to, because I still have my 10-year visa, a year left on it, and I'm watching this TV show about Japanese cooking, and it's an anime, but they focus on one thing every episode, and every episode there's like one interesting fact, or one thing that makes me curious about an aspect of Japanese cooking. And it's been so long since I went on a food tour there. I only did that like the first time I was there when I was visiting with a friend. We ate like really good A5 Wagyu and super good sushi and just like a bunch of stuff, but I haven't done that in a while. And I love udon. I just watched a TV show. So I found out that Kagawa Prefecture is like Udon Prefecture. That's their official nickname, actually. So I want to go there and try all the different types of udon. There's just so many good Japanese foods that I either haven't had in a while or have never tried. There's more that I have never tried. So I think I want to go back through the cities and really get in there. I'm not sure if it's just because I'm watching this TV show right now, but I kind of want to finally learn Japanese. And when I was growing up, Japanese was the popular language to learn in my school, and I think that's why I rebelled and learned Spanish instead. But I do like so much of the food in Japanese culture and so much of the architecture and I like a lot of Japanese culture. I also don't like a lot of Japanese culture. Rigid social strictures don't really fit my mode of thinking or awareness. But I think I'm just being judgy and I should just go there because I'm feeling it. I also have been thinking of climbing the Pacific Crest Trail or the Appalachian Trail that go along the west coast or east coast, respectively, of the United States. You just walk north to south or south to north. But that takes a while, apparently, and I'm not sure if it's worth it. I don't want to walk across the desert part, honestly. I don't. On the Pacific part, you have to walk across like all of California, but in the desert part of it rather than the nice part. As far as I understand, there's like a month that's just going to be desert, or 6 weeks, or maybe longer. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to walk uncomfortably in heat for an indefinite period of time that is definitely more than a month, just so I can get every part of the trail under my belt. But I don't mind the idea of starting from Washington and just walking south through Oregon and all the pretty states. Get a little frostbite on my way down there. Man, have I been staring at hammocks lately. They have Decathlon here in Columbia, and nothing's really on sale, but it's $20 for a hammock. I can probably find a bug tent. The most expensive thing, their freaking athletic foam that I use for the sub-zero temperatures is like $9 or something, or $7 maybe. It's pretty expensive though at Decathlon. I don't know why. They're using some fancy kind instead of just regular athletic foam. And I was like, geez, I'll just go get the regular athletic foam. So I moved from the camping department to the athletic department, where they usually just sell the regular athletic foam. And that's $15 for a piece of foam. Come on, Decathlon. They were selling them less and less, and they were only selling the expensive yoga mats and foam starting a few years ago. But I guess they got rid of generic athletic foam altogether from Quechua, which is their in-house athletic company, athletic sportswear and sports company. But yeah, now they just don't have any. They only have fancy foam, which is the exact same thing. It's like not even as good because the plastic isn't as smooth, because it's not just a lazy generic foam, which works so well for athletic foam and for insulation. Gimme it back, Decathlon. But I've been walking around Decathlon lately staring at that and trying to figure out a way that I can continue doing this podcast and start backpacking again, because kinda miss backpacking a lot. And there's this handheld recorder that I've been curious about for a very long time, since before, it might be a decade ago now. The very first time I ever looked into microphones, there was a handheld one, and apparently the sound is very good, but I have no way to test that unless I buy one for $200, $400, whatever, and gamble on it sounding good. And I know this sounds good. As long as I remember to stay away from the mic. I know I've been speaking too close to the mic recently in some of these episodes, so I'm giving myself a little more room now. I think it was just living in that cramped apartment I was in Panama. I just felt like everything had to be closer together, but then I was listening to the quality of some of these Ramble On episodes, and they did not conform to my liking. But yeah, I'm really thinking about getting out there, backpacking again, and just figuring out a way to do that. Oh, so in this apartment in Medellin, the shower stopped working after a day. So I got a shower in, and then the shower turned off. And I contacted my host, and they said they'll look at it tomorrow. And the next day, they showed up, and they fixed it. And then they told me that if I shower, I should just actually, the host didn't say this. The host's repairman, who maybe was her husband, I'm not really sure. But I said, thank you so much for fixing the shower. And he said, look, just so you know, if you shower, all in Spanish, you can just get wet, then turn off the water, then use the soap, then turn the water on, shower off the soap, and then the shower won't break. And instead of telling him that I had absolutely no intention of doing that, I politely said, yo entiendo. I understand. And then I took a regular shower as soon as they left, because it's easier to let people think you agree with them. Oh yeah, I understand. That doesn't mean I'm going to do it, but I understand what you're saying. It's easier to let people think they're saying something that makes them feel better, and then they'll leave, or they'll stop talking. And what's more important than people not talking? It's the golden rule. And you could tell the repairman was like, oh, it's probably the fuse. But I had told them it wasn't the fuse, and I checked the fuse. And then he checked, and it was the shower. And they had to replace it. But guys, just get a good shower the first time, then you won't have to replace it. Oh, I haven't mentioned the shower. The shower heads in Colombia are the same in Guatemala, which are different than most other countries, including Central and South American countries. In Guatemala and here Colombia, they use the heat element connected to the shower head. So the water is tap water cold until it hits the shower head, and then there's a heat element in there that the shower goes through. So the less water you use, the hotter the water is. And the more water you use, the colder the water is. But that's such an interesting design. I was really happy to see it again. I was like, hey, it's my Guatemala shower. And it works well, but it seems like the heat elements burn out pretty fast compared to a traditional water heater or an on-demand water heater. I guess this is technically on-demand, but on-demand water heaters don't burn out very often. And by the way the repairman was grunting, it seems like this shower had broken more than once. And I had only used it once for I'll say 20 minutes, but it was probably closer to 15. I don't take very long showers. Oh, you know what's crazy? Okay, 2 apps have just stopped working. And at first I was worried it was my phone, but it turns out there's online forums with these issues. A bunch of other people with regular, more mainstream iPhones and whatever are also having the exact same problem. Airbnbs, this is a pretty big one that is all over their forums. Well, there's actually, I shouldn't say that. There are 2 pretty long threads of unresolved issues for 2 months now with no response, or no fix anyway, for Airbnb's Next button. So the Next button stopped working in their apps 2 months ago. And both of those threads have multiple Airbnb users saying that they haven't been able to use the button since it was August 17th or something, and now it's been 2 months. Oh no, it was July. And I called up Airbnb because I was like, okay, yeah, it has been a long time now that I haven't been able to use this Next button. You can use it if you select where and then select the date and then the number of people and then you click where again and then you click search. But the Next button or the search button doesn't work if you click it when you're still choosing the amount of people or you're still choosing the dates, which is crazy. That's the most important button, search. And it just doesn't work on their app. And I was like, oh no, is this my new phone, whatever? Nope, there's a bunch of people. This is happening to a lot of people in the Airbnb community. The app just isn't working for no reason. And I did talk to them, and I figured since there were 2 pretty big threads and an Airbnb community manager had responded to one of the threads, that they would be aware of this situation. But nobody, apparently the guy I was talking to, he had never heard of it. He couldn't find any related ticket in the Airbnb support center related to the Next button not working. And I sent him the 2 threads they're on the official Airbnb site. These people are like, hey, Airbnb, your app search doesn't work. What the heck? Can you fix that? And so he made a new ticket and they've sent it up the chain and the support team says they're working on it now. But it's the Next button. The Next button, or the search button, doesn't work. That's crazy. And another crazy thing is that apparently is happening to other people. Tinder stopped working. I use dating apps, and Tinder's one of them, although I have been using it less and less because it's mostly just prostitutes or Instagram prostitutes. Yeah, it's mostly just prostitutes. And I have to talk to them, and then they're like, yeah, I'm into mutual benefits. And then they do that emoji with the happy face and its tongue is a dollar bill or something. And I'm like, okay. And it was interesting talking to the first 1,000 prostitutes on Tinder, but I'm pretty tired of that. So the fact that the app has completely stopped working is not a huge loss for me, but it is the first time, well, not the first time, but I don't know, I don't do this often, but I left a 1-star review for Tinder because it hasn't been great for a very long time. I mean, in terms of the quality of real people on it and matches and advertising for prostitutes. And, just let there be a filter. If it mentions Instagram or mutual benefits, let me block all the prostitutes. That would save me a lot of time. And it's pretty easy for Tinder to include that in their profile regulations. But they don't. They're not, that's not a concern apparently. So Tinder, if I swipe right, it says you have to complete a face check. which I've done before when they first introduced that feature. And I said, yeah, sure. And it says, great. Your face check is completed without doing a face check. Please continue using Tinder. Continue, swipe right. Hello, you need a face check. And it's just stuck in an infinite loop, so I can't use it at all. I can't use the app at all. I uninstalled, reinstalled it, did the storage and the cache, just did everything. And then I wrote to Tinder, like, hey, the app's completely broken, stuck in an infinite loop. And I explained the steps and what had happened and that I reinstalled and uninstalled. And the first guy sent me back a form letter. And it said, have you tried uninstalling, reinstalling the app? And I was like, yep, that was in the... And are you sure it's the newest app? Yes, because again, I uninstalled, reinstalled it. And then the second guy sent me a message, all different people, the exact same form letter. And then the third person sent the same, fourth person sent the same, and I said, please read my replies. I have done all of these basic suggestions. The Tinder app is broken right now. It doesn't work forward, and other people are apparently having the same issue. And the fifth reply was, I'm sorry you're having trouble. There's nothing more we can do at this time. So because they were all form letters, I don't know if I ever actually got in contact with a real person. So I just uninstalled Tinder, gave them 1 star, and told them what happened. The app is completely broken, at least on mine and others' phones. The issue, Tinder's not addressing the issue, and I didn't get any messages of any consequence back. I was surprised, Tinder's still at like 4.2. I was surprised the rating was so high. But maybe that'll be changing soon, since a bunch of people can't use it at all. There are so many prostitutes on that app, I'm surprised most people would rate it a 5. Are people having a good time on Tinder? I thought it was like the old person's, the legacy app. But I don't update things very quickly, so I was still using it. And I'm not anymore. Okay, so what have I been watching recently that's got me so worked up about Japanese food? There's this TV show called Oishinbo. It's animated, and they work at Tozai News, and there's a loud, boorish fellow, and a typical nice, dainty Japanese lady who works with him. And there's a test, and it turns out that he has great taste. He passes the taste test with flying colors, and so does she. And so they're supposed to work on the ultimate menu. I had watched Food Wars, which is a bit ridiculous, and considering they're all in high school, it's weird when they do the fan service, girls flying off or having orgasms at how good the food is. I'm like, oh, they're like 15, right? All right. But it's only a couple seasons, so it's like, whatever. And the food looks so good in Food Wars, and that's how I learned to make my favorite eggs. So yeah, I forgave Food Wars for a lot of their perversions because the food is so good and it looks so good in the anime. But this show was made in 1986, 88, something. Oishinbo. So there's no perverted jokes or, yeah, just unnecessary sexual jokes, which are so popular these days in Japanese anime. A lot more popular than earlier anime. Like, I've noticed this a lot. A lot of the modern ones, I don't know, maybe I'm not watching enough old ones. But anyway, this show doesn't have any of that, so I already like it more than many anime. But this was the show I mentioned that every episode focuses on garlic, or it focuses on ramen, or it focuses on sushi, or sashimi just by itself. And it really addresses some of the parts of Japanese culture through cooking, and really points them out, and I think there's some real cultural knowledge to be gained from the show, and it's fun to watch because there's a rivalry between a son and his father, and the food does look good, and it is all real. Like, when they do give a, like, and that's why this fish tastes better here, because da-da-da-da, and they make some good points that I can look up and confirm. And a really good, interesting point was when they were like, and it's Chinese cooking, so you shouldn't be using Japanese soy sauce. Use Chinese soy sauce. All the flavors will mix together better. And I've never really thought about that, but I bet that's true, because I bet that's part of why whenever I'm in a country, everything, all the dishes, even if it's the same thing I've had in another country, it makes more sense because they're using all the same country's ingredients. Like, Chinese food tastes different in China because they aren't using any sweeter soy sauces or anything like that. They're using the sauces from China that have always been from China. And drastically different. I still do not like Chinese food in the US at all. It tastes like a completely different country's food. So, yeah, I gotta go back to China and go eat their food again. Gotta go eat some food again. This apartment that I'm renting now in Colombia has an air fryer, though. So, yeah, I've just been doing chicken wings, french fries, and now garlic cloves. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to try the barbecue beer marinade garlic cloves after this. That's gonna be so good. That's coming up, folks. That'll be on the next episode. I'll let you know how that went. I bet it went great. Dude, I'm going to do the barbecue beer marinade and put some of the spicy dry spices on that. Just a little puff on each of them. Oh, it's going to be so good. It's going to be so good. What was I talking about? The air fryer. I love air fryers. I was so excited that this apartment had one. And I've been cooking things with it, and it's just... I love being able to cook chicken wings, or any meat, really. I've cooked chorizo in it, and butifarras, and all these things, and it's just, I can make it exactly how I like it every time. It's the best. Air fryers are the best. They're my favorite kitchen appliance. Maybe after refrigerators, those are pretty useful. No, I think, if you had to get one appliance, a refrigerator or an air fryer, I guess I would get the air fryer, because the only problem with no refrigerator is that I couldn't keep the beer cold, but I bet I could figure something out. Or I would just live in a super cold place and just have the air fryer. I'd just go live in Sweden, keep the beer outside in a wooden casket, my outdoor fridge, and then use the air fryer. Because I love how I can make perfect food how I like it every single time I use an air fryer. And it cooks everything. Okay, that's it. Air fryers are the best. Okay, I just saw this lady, and it was super funny. She was walking down the street, like the other day. I was walking back to my apartment. Oh no, I had just left for my afternoon walk, actually. And I turned this corner, and when I was turning, a lady was walking across the street, and this motor scooter drove up, and she was in the way, and she looked over, and then she recognized who was on the scooter, and I couldn't understand the Spanish perfectly, but I could understand that the person on the back was pretending to be angry, but was saying hello to her friend, and her friend laughed back and flipped her the middle finger and drove off. But they weren't teenagers. These were 50-year-old women. So this was a very matronly, chubby lady crossing the street, and she just laughed so warmly and flicked off the motor scooter and her friend, and then they kept driving on. It was so funny to see that. And that really reflects how Medellin is. This is a very fun city, which is interesting because I was told that before I came, that Bogota was a little cold and not quite as fun. In Medellin, everybody was out partying every day and just enjoying and laughing with each other. And there is a lot of laughing here. The street food stalls are open until midnight or later, and they'll have chairs and tables in front of them, and you'll just see groups of people. Everyone's just hanging out. A lot of beers and bars, a lot of beer drinking here. But it just seems, it's a very fun, my neighborhood especially is a very fun neighborhood. Well, I say especially, but it seems like every part of the city I visited is like this. So, Medellin is a very fun place. Everybody keeps telling me how safe it is, though, and that is the only thing in my entire experience in Colombia so far, in Medellin anyway, that's the only reason I'm like, wait, is it safe? Because half a dozen people have made pains to be like, don't worry, it's safe. I think they're doing that because I'm so obviously not Colombian, and there's this perception of Medellin especially being dangerous because 50 years ago, the drugs and all that. So maybe they're just reassuring me, but too many people are doing it, and now I'm like, how safe is it? But according to the violent statistics, which I think I mentioned, it's safer than most American cities, even without mass shootings. Just violent crime is a lot less here than in the US. Oh, I was jogging the other day, and there was a bundle of trash or something on the sidewalk because I was like, oh, it's trash day. And then I got closer, and it wasn't a bundle of bags. There was a homeless guy lying head down, and his legs and waist were on the grass, and he was lying face up, downhill off the grass onto the sidewalk, but he didn't look like he was hurt. It looked like he was on drugs. It looked like he was higher than a kite. He looked pretty peaceful. He looked very peaceful in his drug stupor. So I just walked around him and kept going. And another guy walking past me, and he looked down and then just kept walking also. There are druggy people here. So since the first day, I have seen people living on the streets because, I mean, this is the perfect climate. If you want to be homeless, this is the city to be homeless in. It's like 70s in the morning, and then it's 60, high 50s at night. And that's 365 days of the year. This is a pretty shocking climate. It's a little too warm for me still, but I think part of that is because I don't have any breeze. I have one window and one door next to each other, the front door, but there's no cross breeze, or there's no there's nothing on the other side of the apartment. There's no window or any ventilation at all. So I think I'm warmer in here than I otherwise would be if there was any amount of ventilation outside of the front door and the window right next to it. I will say the homeless people here and the druggies, whatever, all the street people, very, very nice people. Everyone's super courteous, like much more so than in city. I'm very used to homeless people and people on the street coming from the US, of course. That's like our staple. But like I said, the climate is perfect here, and it's really not very expensive to get food. And I think some restaurants must even give their old food to the homeless people or something. Because, yeah, all the homeless people are very nice. They're very talkative and happy. They all seem pretty happy. Yeah, it's just this is a very good city to be homeless in. It makes sense. There's one dude, and whenever he sees me, he's like, hey, he can't speak English, and I just say something crappy in Spanish, but he always fist bumps me, and he's always like selling little bits of candy. And I told him I can't eat candy because my teeth are dead. And that's not quite true. I just don't want to buy candy, but it's not quite wrong either, because my teeth are pretty terrible. But half of them aren't real anymore, so those ones are fine. So I've been using the air fryer a lot, and I bought a bag of chicken wings for $5, and I cooked them, and they cooked really fast in like 10 minutes. And I was like, whoa, what the heck? And I checked the bag. It said they were pre-cooked already. And they tasted pretty good, but I didn't realize they were pre-cooked. And I was kind of surprised they were $5 because all the prices, produce and other meats, like they're cheap. You can get a pound of steak for, I don't know, 50 cents. And this was 10 chicken wings maybe for $5. It just seemed really expensive for the country. So I went and got raw chicken wings, and they were less a quarter of the price. They were $1.50 for 2.5 pounds. No, that would have been 3 pounds of chicken wings. So yeah, like 60 cents a pound or whatever. No, that's like 40 cents a pound for chicken wings. The chicken wings do have the back of the chicken connected. So I get like a drumstick and a wing, drumstick wing, and then the back portion of the chicken. But it's great because it has meat on it. It's just the ribbed part. It's chicken ribs. Yeah, it's chicken ribs, actually, now that I think about it. And these are fresh chicken wings, not pre-cooked. So it takes a little longer to cook them all. It takes twice as long to cook them. It takes 20, 22 minutes, whatever, instead of 11 minutes. But it's just an air fryer, so I don't gotta do anything. And they taste fantastic. They taste fresh. And it cost me $1. It cost me $1.20 for 10 chicken wing. Yeah, that's right. It's about $1.20 for 8 chicken wings, 4 wing tips, and 2 chicken ribs. For $1.20. And I just throw them in the air fryer, put on that spice or whatever flavor I want. Yeah, it's great. There's one girl who sells the chicken wings. She's always there, and she always talks to me, but she's one of those people that doesn't get I can't understand. And just every time I say like, no entiendo, lo siento, mis palabras es más pequeño, no suficiente palabras. I don't have enough words. I can't understand enough words. And she's like, you're speaking. And so she just speaks to me faster and more. I'm like, thank you so much. I really can't understand what you're saying though. And then she just keeps speaking Spanish to me. It looks like she's having a good time, so I mostly let it go. And if this is a slur or a swear word, I don't know. She kept saying wakano to me. Wakano. Wakano, wakano. And I looked up in the dictionary how I would think it would be spelled. I'm apparently wrong. What is wakano? Are there any Spanish speakers who know what wakano means? Because after a few times, I was like, wakano? And she got really happy and clapped her hands, said, "Sí, wakano, wakano." And I was like, what the heck is that? So if you know, let me know, because I can't find out what that word is. But it seems like some kind of cuss word. But you know what? They got the fresh chicken. Doesn't scare me to make a mistake with my Spanish. I've been cooking a lot of chicken wings. I've been cooking chicken wings every other day. Instead of $1, I got $2 of chicken wings a couple days ago. And I was like, okay, this is crazy. This is like I didn't realize how much this would be. Because the $1.20 of chicken wings I bought was already so much food, but it was so good I ate it quickly. So I was like, let's just get twice as many, just have a party. And so I did, but that's a lot. It's 16 little wings and drums and 8 wingtips and then 4 of those chicken ribs. So it's like a lot of meat and a lot of skin, because when I have an air fryer, I will eat a lot of the skin, not all of it, but I usually don't like chicken wing skin too much because it isn't cooked enough, so it's not crispy. If it's just marinated, I don't want to eat chicken skin very much. But if I can air fry it, I love crispy chicken skin on a chicken wing. Tasty, tasty. Especially with my sauces or my spices or whatever, and I get to cook it exactly how dry I like it. Not burnt, but real crispy, right about 11 and a half minutes. Yeah, so I had way too many, and I ate half of them, and then I figured, oh, you know what? Like those ones I bought the first time, I can just pre-cook these and then put them in the freezer, and then I'll have already cooked out a bunch of the oil. They'll cook faster than normal because, yeah, I've pre-cooked them. And I was really excited about this idea, so I also cut up all of the potatoes that I had left over. And I did that, but it took forever because I could only fit 5 chicken pieces in the air fryer at a time. So I had to do, I don't even know. And I have to flip them after 6 minutes so it cooks evenly. Moral of the story is it was not worth it. Pre-cooking all of these chicken wings, and my entire apartment smelled like chicken wings because I had to fry so many of them in the air fryer. And then I fried all of the potatoes too in the leftover chicken fat, but there was just too much. So the entire apartment smelled like chicken for a long time. And after I did that, I had to put the pre-cooked potatoes and chicken wings in the freezer. And then the refrigerator was running for like 4 hours trying to freeze everything. So I couldn't record this yesterday. I think it was maybe 2 days. No, I think it was yesterday. No, it was 2 days ago. Probably. And at the end of it, all I had was like 1 meal's worth of chicken for me and French fries. And I was like, okay, never doing that again. I'll just cook it fresh, take a little longer, but I just do it once at a time. There's not as much smell and just way easier in every respect to cook the fresh chicken wings one time instead of pre-cooking things and doing a whole... It felt like I just cooked everything twice for no reason. And that is because I did. That's exactly what happened. That's why it feels like that. Ooh, the French fries were good, though. I have been eating a lot of French fries because a bag of potatoes is 60 cents, so I just buy a bag and then chop up a couple or a few and air fry them up with whatever else I'm having that day. Ooh, I finally got to make my guacamole yesterday for the first time. The avocados I bought for 60 cents, 6 for 60 cents, were not ripe yet. So I've been waiting for them to ripen, and 2 of them definitely ripened yesterday. Do you know the trick for ripe avocados? I always thought you had to feel them because that's what my parents taught me, and that's what I saw everybody in every store ever, in my whole life including today, doing with avocados. They pick them up, they squeeze them a little, and then they put them down or they put them in their cart, depending on whatever they felt, but that is incorrect. There's the little part of the stem left over on the top of the avocado, just that little stem part. If that stem part doesn't move at all, it is not ripe, don't cut into it. I used to do that. I just have to cut into my avocados to check, and I did that for years, and I was like, there's got to be a better way. And I looked online. Nobody told me this ever, and apparently this wasn't widely known. Maybe it's very common nowadays. Common knowledge. But anyway, that's the trick. The little part of the stem on top, if it doesn't move at all, it's not ripe. If it moves a little, it's almost ripe. And if it has fallen out or it can be popped off very easily, just move your finger, and if it rubs right off, then the avocado is fresh. It's ready to make guacamole with. Or ready to be chopped up in a salad. It's perfectly ripe when that little piece of stem falls off on its own or comes off with very little pressure. And 2 of my avocados yesterday, it was still a little stiff, but they were loose, and I really wanted to have some guacamole yesterday, so I did it. But I'm probably going to make some more today, because the day after they're almost ready, in a batch, all the other batch is going to be ready the next day. That's probably, I haven't checked actually today, but if they're ready, I'm going to make them. And I'm pretty sure they'll be ready, because that's how it usually goes. In fact, let's wrap this up here. I'm going to go make some guacamole. I hope you had a wonderful day today. You can talk to me at bitofarambler@gmail.com or bitofarambler on Blue Sky and Lemmy. I am looking forward to hearing from you.